and welcome to emilykatemadethis. I am Emily Kate and I'm coming to you from Berlin in Germany. Welcome to my knitting slash sewing slash general crafty YouTube channel, and also vintage knitting fashion stuff channel. It has been a while, about 3, maybe even 4 weeks by now, I'm not sure. I went to the UK for a week, my in-laws have visited for a week, and yeah, I've just been ridiculously busy, which is very rare. I'm not generally a very busy sort of person, but I have been to yarn festivals and met new people and all the things, so I finally have a chance to sit down and record. So let us begin. I have one finished object. I know, it's mad. It's been a month and I haven't really been crafting or knitting. I was finishing up some socks, I was finishing up some little bits here and there, but I haven't actually been crafting very much. I have been working on a very special project, but I can't tell you about it until maybe next week, because if I tell you about it now, it'll ruin the whole video that I have planned. So I have to be quiet. I have to be well behaved, I wanted to say, disciplined, and not give away anything. But I hope you like it. So that has been taking up a lot of my time, but soon all will be revealed. But I do have a little bit of, I'm calling it Mutti's Corner. Mutti being like mum in German. My mum has some crafting and she gave me some lovely things, and I wanted to just do a little ode to my mother and show her crafting things that she gave me, because they are also knitting and sewing related, and I think that you will love them as much as I do. So it's a very higgledy-piggledy episode today, but hopefully you still enjoy. I wanted to also show you some things that I got in the UK. So yeah, as I said, a little bit all over the show, but I am all over the show as a person, so you can't really expect anything different from me. Let me get my finished object number 1, and only. You will not be surprised, but the finished object are my socks. I talked about these quite a bit last time on my sock episode, which YouTube algorithm deemed not appropriate to show to like most people. So not sure, you may or may not have seen these socks because that didn't get many views. So if you did not see that video, go ahead and watch that one after this. So if there's any questions about anything I forget to say, it should be covered in that video. But basically, this part is the Stone Knits breakfast sock set, and they're fried eggs, or boiled eggs I should say, and they're so cute and I love them. But I was really struggling with the 3 colours in one round situation, so I cut them short and swapped up and added a different Stone Knits pattern. I'll put a picture, it's a chicken and egg sock, and I chose that because I thought this fried egg toe was so fun. It has this pretty rib. It's not really a rib, is it? There's a few pearl lines in there. And the fried egg toe, which I love. And I did a shadow wrap heel, which is different from the pattern in the book, but I prefer that to a standard short row heel. And I used Keats Garn wool. She's a hand dyer here in Berlin, and this was one of her Wundertüte, like a surprise bag with 3 different yarns. I purchased, I would say 2 years ago. I'm going with 2 years ago. And it's this glorious blue, and I never really knew what I wanted to do with it, but I did think socks. So I eventually actually used that yarn and made these socks, which are so fun. I'm actually really happy that I went with this decision because I really wanted to make these egg toes, And I don't know, I want to make the other socks, but for some reason I loved this idea of having like double egg on the sock. And now I have. So, goodness, that was wrapped up very quickly. I think I covered everything. 3 colours in a row does mean that I had to change my tension, like my needles, to get the right tension. But do I remember? I'm going with 2.75mm that I used. But again, you can watch the other video, and I am much more specific in that video. But basically, there's not much stretch when it comes to Colourwork socks, so you do have to make sure that your tension is correct. Otherwise, it will not go over your heel. So that is my finished object that I can show you in real life. I can also say I did finish the other pair of socks. There should hopefully be a video. I don't know if I took a picture of my cat socks. I made them for my mum, and thank you to everybody who crossed your fingers and prayed that they would fit, because they did. And they were actually slightly too big, if anything. But to be fair to myself, I don't think they would have fit if I had gone down any needle size or sock size. I think they would have been too tight, because what is that section? I was going to show you here. This section, but on the foot. Instep? The instep is quite stretched over her instep, but the sock is kind of looser over the rest of her foot. Did notice that when I was talking to you last time about my shadow wrap heel and short row heel, I said I don't notice a difference particularly on my feet, but I did notice that on my mum's foot, she definitely fits a heel flap and gusset a lot more than a short row heel or a shadow wrap heel. It sits on her foot, this one sits on her foot a little bit strangely, like it kind of comes away. If she puts her feet up, it kind of pulls away from the foot. I don't know how to explain that. Basically, this heel isn't really that suitable for my mum, but it works absolutely perfect for me. So that's good to know for the future. So technically, that is 2 finished objects. I have some really disgusting tea that I need to drink. I'm not sure. It's the second brew, and the second brew did not go well at all. And then I put oat milk in it to try and save it, and it did not. Okay. So I am also working on one project at the moment. It's bizarre. I am not used to not knitting. It's not like I lost my knitting mojo, but I suppose I haven't had much time to do it. And so I just, in any time that I have had, I've been working on this one project. And I know it isn't true, it can't be true, but toe-up socks take significantly longer than cuff down. I have been working on this sock, like I cast it on in the UK, so that is 10 days, could even be 2 weeks by now. And I'm still, I'm just getting to the heel. So, are you ready? That is it. I don't know when to go into the heel section. I've never done a toe-up sock before, and so although yes I can try it on, that doesn't answer when I start the heel, because I'm not sure. When you put a sock on, I can't explain it and I can't understand it myself. I think I'll just line it up next to a sock I've already made and measure that and see. But the toe went really strange on this. I basically just reverse engineered the pattern. Instead of doing my toe as I would down, I just did increases there. But it came out kind of, usually my increases are longer. It's kind of hard to show on this because it's got an egg on it, but there's that many increases, whereas this one is just a tiny amount. So I can only assume that this is a much tighter gauge, but I would generally do 56 stitches, and for this one I had to go up to 60 because it wouldn't fit. Sorry, I'm struggling to talk a little bit because something's in my throat, but I don't know why, what it is. So they do line up, and I've put them on my foot. I have put it on my foot and it fits, it's fine. It's just the gauge must be completely different to normal. This is West Yorkshire Spinners green, apple green or something, yarn that I purchased to go with my gingerbread socks. So I've never actually knitted with it other than a heel and a cuff. So it's definitely different. The gauge is definitely different. And socks look so strange to me knitted toe up. I know that when you knit it's going to look like this, but for some reason it's bizarre to me to look at it the other direction. So I must be nearly there. Like 2 weeks I've been knitting this and it's going on forever. Usually I would finish the foot in like 1 or 2 evenings. So I honestly just don't know what is going on with this. So I must nearly be there. I've still got like an inch or 2 inches to go. Oh, it's so boring. This is going to be something very fun, I hope. I really wanted to do a whole video about it, thinking it would be fun and fast, and it's taken so long and it's so boring that this video would take so long to make that I don't think I'm going to end up doing it. But basically it's an intarsia sock and it's a vintage, but I'm not sure from what year, like maybe 80s, maybe 70s, I don't know, because there's no date on the pattern. It's a Swedish pattern and it's a picture of the pattern from a magazine or a book. But going just simply by how it looks, I'm thinking it's 80s. But nonetheless, vintage or not, it's a very fun sock pattern. And it has a house at the top in intarsia. And I have never knitted intarsia to my knowledge. I have tried and failed, but I haven't succeeded. So hopefully I will know how to do it this time. And yeah, if I, depends on how long it takes me to get there. I'm trying not to lose hope because I'm so bored of knitting this. Maybe I should talk a bit quieter. Hopefully the camera will pick up my voice even if I'm not projecting it. There is one exciting thing that is making me knit these socks though. Keeps throwing them on the floor. My lovely friend in America, Kimberly sent me such a cool thing. I don't even know what it's called. It's like a yarn holder thing and I love it. She bought it for herself from my understanding but didn't get on with it, so she was so lovely and sent it to me and I am so grateful. So thank you for the like 1000th time. But this is it. You put it on your wrist, put the ball in, and then as you're knitting it comes off and it's so good. I have used this so much and I've only had it just over a week. Maybe, yeah, just over I don't even know if it is over a week. Let's just say a week. It's so irrelevant. I don't know why I am still trying to get the dates correct. I have taken this in the car to Spreewald when I went there with my in-laws last week. I sat in the ice cream shop with this. I sat in the restaurant with this. I have taken it to the city centre and knitted on the train. I have sat on my balcony with this. And I even took it for a walk in my local neighbourhood just to see if I could walk and knit. Turns out I can, but I do still look at my knitting. I'm not confident enough to not drop a stitch. So although I can look up a little bit, I still basically walk along like this. But this is great because when I went on an aeroplane last year, last year? Must have been around Christmas. My ball of yarn fell down, rolled down the aisle, and someone had to come up and pass it to me. I hadn't even noticed. And I've dropped it on the floor on a train. I've dropped it when I'm outside. So this is so good and I'm really delighted with it. What is it? It just says Lemonwood 23. I'm not sure if it's made of wood. And yeah, I love it. I am so grateful to Kimberly because now I can knit on the go. I could sit here and knit without it rolling around on the floor, because although I do have like yarn baskets and yarn bowls, I'm not sure what it is. I don't pull my yarn, but for some reason it's quite energetic yarn that I have and it just jumps out of the bowl and then I have to run around chasing it anyway. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Kimberly says it's from the Bloomin' Spindle in Chicago. So if any of you are in Chicago, I highly recommend. That is all I have to say really on this sock and my work in progress, because that is how far I've got. I am hoping the enthusiasm kicks in. But fear not, the crafting is not over. The crafting talk has only just begun. Let us go into my random new segment called Mutti's Corner. My mum made some very cool things and I will show you what she did, and then I'll show you in real life because I have them. Okay, so the first one, let's see how many of you can guess just as I show it. Any ideas? If you guessed the Anthology Throw by Helen Stewart, you would be correct. My mum knitted this when she had a chest infection over the winter holiday, I was going to say, just over in the winter. My mum had a horrible chest infection and she had just all the things. She was not a healthy, happy bunny during January, but thankfully she's much better now. And she used her time wisely by using up all her scrap yarn from her sock projects and made this very, very cool throw. I've been calling it the pizza party throw since she started it, because to me this looks like a pizza. And even more so, I just think of this being like mozzarella on the pizza. Gosh, I can't I can't hold it, it's so big. It's enormous. My mum was inspired to knit this after she saw Yana from Finished Knitting Stories. Yana made this, I think the year before last, during Vlogmas, and my mum loved it. So she did the same, but only, but she did do it on smaller needles. I think the recommended needles, whereas either Jana did them on bigger needles, either Jana made her throw on bigger needles, or I know she has a looser gauge, so that could be it. But my mum was a bit nervous that her throw would be equally as big, because she wasn't sure how she would block it or where she would put it. Turns out it doesn't matter, because she gave it to me. So now I can put it on the back of my chair. I also use it on the sofa to keep myself nice and toasty warm. Weirdly, it's summer, but yet my feet get cold all the time. So I still have this on the sofa so that I can wrap up in the evening and cover my feetsies. So thank you, Mother, for gifting me your pizza party, because I am a big fan. Keeping with the theme of Mutti's Corner, we shall transition into about 4-5 years ago. Unfortunately, I do not have photo evidence to prove this, but I know that it's at least 4 years ago, but I'm thinking maybe 5. My mum decided to start learning how to sew, and she did some quilting classes, and she said, I'm making you a quilt, it's adorable, I'm making great progress, and you'll get it for Christmas. Then I think 2020 came, and she couldn't continue the course to do the last part of her quilt, the edge binding, I think it was. And lots of things happened, as it did in 2020, and the quilt got abandoned. And little bits of work happened on it every now and then, but in the meantime I learned how to sew and I learned how to knit, because I wanted my mum to make me all these things. And obviously, if you're a crafter, you know how long things take to make, but when you're just somebody that doesn't know how to knit or know how to sew, you just think, Mum, can you make me a dress? I want it to be this perfect 1940s gown, can you do that? No? So I learned how to knit and to sew in order to do that. And in the meantime, my mum took a break from sewing. But her enthusiasm was refreshed. I think after, correct me if I'm wrong, Mother, if you're watching, I think after she started watching some YouTubes, like knitting podcasts, maybe the enthusiasm was reinvigorated to start getting out the old unfinished objects and finishing them, because the quilt was resurrected from its, I think, the attic and attic lodgings, and was finished. So after multiple birthdays and Christmases where I'm like, this is the year, I'm getting the quilt this year, I in fact got my quilt, not on my birthday nor at Christmas, but as a surprise for when I got to the UK. I will insert some footage with my mum holding it, and I will also show you from here. It's very difficult to fit it in frame, so I will desperately try to put it somewhere and take a video so you can see it, but otherwise, just use your imagination. Hopefully you're seeing this. Isn't it adorable? Thanks, Mum! It is so cute. She did show me some progress shots as she was making this whenever she was going to her classes. And she got me all enthusiastic about receiving it. I just had to be very patient. Now I have it and it's on my bed. It's been sat on and scrunched up and shoved in a bag to get from England to Germany, so that is why it's a bit of a mess. But how cute is this? Hand embroidered and everything. I am very lucky. So this one is currently sitting at the end of my bed, and this one is on my sofa. And if you know me, you'll know I love mushrooms. So we've got lots and lots of adorable mushrooms. And little mouse and acorns, conkers, foxies. What else? Little girl prancing around in her bonnet. Very apt. I love a bonnet. Yeah, I could look at this all day. Okay, Mutti's corner is done. So the next thing that I have big intentions to do, I have started, but I got a lot of hand pain, so I had to not give up, but put it on pause. And that is fixing my husband's slippers. If you have watched my channel for any length of time, I imagine, I have been trying to knit things for my husband, and most of the time they go wrong. But I made him these slippers and he loves them. And I also love them, but they're getting holes, like massive holes. He hasn't worn them that much. He has worn them a lot, but generally he sits on the sofa or is in his room, and he hasn't worn them, like, yeah, I don't know. He hasn't worn them that much, but huge holes. So I started to try and darn them. Yes, it's going to be very ugly, but basically the hole is as big as that whole section, and I was not going to individually repeat this pattern for two reasons. One being that I don't know how to duplicate stitch over an actual hole, like no fabric, you can't duplicate stitch there. So I threaded in some yarn and then tried to crisscross through and make a patch, which then is the second reason. I actually thought in the UK I would buy some patches, like one there and one there, but I completely forgot to order them. So I still will buy them and then maybe ask my mum to bring them over when she visits in September, and then I'll sew them on. But this is what I was attempting to do. But seeing as it was going not that well, I thought I might give this contraption a try. It just came in the post, so I haven't tried it yet, and I haven't even put it together. But the idea is basically to do this, but you have this to help you. I don't know how it works yet, but I will update you to let you know. Unless you already know, then you can tell me, how effective is it? Does it work? I'm going to try, because I need to rescue not only this sock, but also this one. This is the Tencel, Seven Brothers Tencel and wool blend, whereas my slippers were made with the wool and nylon blend, and so far they've held up really well. So Tencel and my husband, not a good combination. I also made my mum some socks with a nettle and wool combination, and they didn't hold up either. So although I want to make socks without nylon, mending all those holes repeatedly, I don't know that it's actually better. I have socks that I've had for 20 years and they're still going. That is much better than having a pair that are without nylon, that have several holes mended, that you eventually, there's nothing left to fix because you've just got too much mendage. But weighing the pros and cons, I think I'm just going to stick, if I'm making socks or slippers, just to use them with nylon. Because they last like forever. I do not know what is going on with my throat. It's like really dry. I don't know if I'm just shouting. I have so many fun things that I brought back from the UK, but I don't know how to show them. Like, I feel like they need to be in some kind of context. So some of them I think I'll just keep aside and show you when it makes more sense, rather than just going, here is everything I got. But I did want to show you a couple of things that got me very excited, because I said to my brother, we're going to Brighton and I want to find this and this. Very specific things. And I'm absolutely shocked that I did actually find them. So I asked my brother to look before I visited the UK. He loves going to charity shops, so I said, please look out for 1940s book, and it's kind of a beigey brown colour, and it's like a squiggle. It's either yarn or like a squiggle of a person. I wasn't very precise. And I found it, and I'm so excited. This is a book from the 1940s. Let's see, do you have an actual date? I can't, there was a sticker on it and I can't remember if it said 1945 or 1940. But looking at the very first number in this it does say 40. So it might actually be exactly 1940, but let's just say it's from the 40s just to be vague. It is The Pictorial Guide to Modern Home Dressmaking. And I would love to have a dress like that. There is a knitting version. There's a knitting book that looks very similar with the yarn ball. I would love to get that book. But I did find one that was very, very close to being what I wanted. But we were in such a rush. I was with my parents and I don't know why we were in a rush, but I basically said, I'll come back and get it after. And then it closed because I forgot that the shops close at 4 on a Sunday and I did not get there in time. So next time I'm looking for the 1940s knitting version. But I am so excited. Like, I know how to sew, but I just love old things. I love old books. I love old fabrics, old patterns, old everything. I love old things. I'm just like my parents. But it just has such fun things. And because I love the 1940s and the style, you get these fun, like how to do the shoulders, or how to do this different pocket, or how to do like this, that and the other, that they just don't tend to do nowadays. And I am very excited to go through this book and to try and make some stuff from it and see what the difference is, like how the language is, how they explain things, if it's easier or more confusing than modern day. Because I'm not sure if it's dyslexia or just the way that I understand information. But I really struggle to read information and turn those words into something that makes sense in my head. If I read something out loud, I wouldn't know what I had just said. I would then have to read it in my head to understand what I just said. But if it's an explanation of something, it's like I know all of these individual words, I know they're English, but when you put them into a sentence, I just don't understand. But if I watched a YouTube and someone said, you get this needle and you put it through and bring it out here, I'd be like, okay. I'd do it. Sometimes I would then look at the thing I had just read and be like, ah yeah, now I can see how that explains that. But most of the time I don't. So I have lots of books about knitting and sewing, but I don't usually understand what I'm reading. But I really hope that I'll be able to understand this book. If not, at least there's great pictures. And on the vintage theme, continuing on it, I won something on good old eBay, and I hadn't even noticed something very hilariously on point for me. I knew that these were bonnets, and if you've watched any of my videos from like winter time, I was talking about my bonnet, my Swedish bonnet, because I made one and it was vintage and it was wonderful. And I am just dealing with some sellotape issues here. Okay, so I got this pattern for really cute bonnets, and then when I opened it when I got home to the UK, I saw they're actually Swedish. I mean, it's an English pattern, I don't know if it's actually Swedish, but the fact that it says 2 hats from Sweden made me giggle because I'm obsessed with Sweden. Which I did want to briefly touch upon. I've had quite a few people seemingly upset that I'm obsessed with Sweden and not Germany, and I do find it slightly bizarre. Just because I love Sweden and Swedish things doesn't mean I like Germany any less, and it doesn't mean I don't like German things. I just moved here about 8 years ago, and I came on holiday before then. I've already had my like lustful moments where I discover the things and I think they're really cool and I want to make them, or I want to decorate my house with them. I'm not as openly, I suppose, vocal about the things I love in Germany because I've already had that moment. And now they've just kind of become a part of my life and my house. So when I find these Swedish things and I think it's very exciting, and I went to Sweden on holiday for the first time, it was exciting and I talked about it on here, but of course 8 years ago I wasn't recording, so you wouldn't know my excitement about Germany. But rest assured, everybody that got either confused or upset by my obsession with Sweden and not Germany, that doesn't mean I don't love Germany. I also have lots of vintage German patterns and vintage German things, and I have still got my love of German things. To be honest, I actually love more southern German things, like typical German things that people think of, which are actually Bavarian. So you don't actually find people wearing dirndls and like holding pretzels and having beers and doing those like those wooden clocks and wooden toys and those very specific German things that I think are fascinating. They're actually more in Bavaria, not in Berlin. So so although I do love my German stuff, it's not necessarily Northern German. But I haven't explored the north of Germany yet, so there is still time. Maybe on my holiday next, when is that? September, October time, I'm going to visit a bit more of the north of Germany. Maybe I'll find some new things about Germany. So just a little clarity there. I still love Germany, do not fear. So yes, here is one of my patterns. Then I went to Lewis with my mum and we went through this. There's a really cool antique store, very cool antique store. And they had a plastic bag shoved with a bunch of patterns that you couldn't see. You had to buy the whole shebang before seeing what you got. So some were a bit, but many were very good. Some were a bit of a tease because they would give you the front cover, but then there wasn't the rest of the book. But I got a couple of these Stitchcraft magazines. So they have these tablecloths. I love these tablecloths. Embroidered tablecloths are a big weakness of mine. And I mean, I've got one right here just hanging in front of me because I have no table to actually put it on. But I love them. This was a good find in Germany that I got. I've got a few from my nan from England, and I have a few from Sweden. And hopefully one day I'll have a few that I made, because I've got enough of these books that have patterns. Yes, see, look, a page which suggests you have the rest of the book, and I don't. So there are a few fun ones. This one I'm very excited about. And because I'm quite small, I'm hoping that this teenager's blouse will fit me. But I feel like I looked it up and saw that it should fit me. But I mean, worst comes to worst, I just refiddle around with the gauge and I can get it to fit. So that one was exciting. And yeah, this is another back page of a magazine without the rest of the magazine, but I just love these embroidered things. I'll just show you a couple more. I don't want to bore you. This one's fun. The day my husband is like, I'll wear that, will be an amazing day. At the moment, he's definitely not in that phase of life, but maybe when he's like 60. Then I've got many of this woman, many patterns with this model. And this one is very fun. Not sure how it's knitted yet, but that would be a lot of purling potentially. But it's very cool. And I desperately hope that this all was in focus. Otherwise I will be taking a few extra shots to add in. So a fun bundle of loveliness was found in England. I did get a few other fun things. I might have to put a picture in instead. I asked my brother, when you are hunting in the charity shops, please look for vintage wool. Which, bless, my brother thinks that all yarn is wool and all wool is old. So I got a lot of acrylic and a lot of misc, but that is not a bad thing because I have a baby to knit for, and I don't think that the parents are going to wash wool in the correct way to make it worth knitting in wool, even though I would so much rather knit in wool. I just don't think it will last. I've knitted 2 wool things for other friends. They threw them in the wash, felted them immediately, even though both of those wools were superwash. So I don't know what happened there. Maybe they just put them in a boil wash or something. So I'm nervous to make baby things using wool. But now I have some acrylic, I think I will do that. And my brother wants me to knit, let me show you. To knit some of these. This is the RSPB in partnership with Knit. What is that? Knit Now. He got this in a charity shop as well, so I don't know how old this is, but it does recommend West Yorkshire Spinners wool. But I was given a bunch of acrylic and he wanted that, so I will make him a couple of birds. They're really cute. Where's like the robin? So cute. There are some very cute birds. And he did, in fact, find me some wool from either the 1950s or it could be the 1960s. I'll put a video somewhere. I looked up the how do you pronounce this? Penguin wool company, and I saw the different labels that they had. But the colour of the penguin shape and just the symbol changed. When it got to the same design, it wasn't the same colour. There was a pink or a red one and a black one, but there wasn't a blue one. And so I'm not sure if it's 50s or 60s, but it's 100% wool, it's insanely pink, and it's very fun, and the label was very cool. So I have no idea what I will knit with it, but obviously it's something vintage. Maybe one of those like lacy tees that I really like, might do that. I also found some Wendy, I was going to say Wendy wool, but it's actually cotton and linen blend. That is from the 80s, I think. And I think there was another. But anyway, I got lots of wool, lots of wool, lots of sewing patterns, because he found some of those as well, and lots of knitting patterns from my mum's finds. It was a very successful vintage haul of a week. I also got some like random bits and buttons and hook and eyes, just fun things. So although I didn't think I had much to say, it does seem I'm running out of battery and memory, so I must have been talking enough. I think that should conclude most of what I wanted to talk about. I do have one more thing. One more thing. I didn't even mention that. I went to 2 wool festivals this weekend. The weekend just gone. I got back from the UK, and then the next day I went to Wedding Wool Weekend, which is in Wedding in Berlin. And that was very fun. I got to meet a new fibre friend, which I'm now going to get it the wrong way around. Fibre and floral? Flora and fibre? Oh gosh, Becca. I got to meet Becca, which was very fun. She's an American living here in Berlin as well. We've been here basically the exact same amount of time, and I find that crazy. We've never come across each other online or anything. I went and I saw Keats Garn, Nora, who runs Keats Garn, the yarn dyer I was just telling you about. I got some yarn for my mum there, and that was all I bought there, because after coming back from the UK with all of the yarn my brother gave me, and obviously all the yarn I already own, I was feeling slightly overwhelmed by the amount of fibre that I own and the amount of time that it could take to actually use it. So I didn't buy myself any, but the experience was very fun. Then the next day. Then the next day there was a different yarn festival that was actually more to my taste than taste, is that the word I want? More up my alley than the wedding one. Wool & Bellion is great and the festival is really fun, but it is very much superwash focused, hand-dyed focused, and oh, what is your name? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name. I'm going to put her here. Valentine was there. So I did recognise her, but basically the cheapest skein was probably €25, and I don't need yarn, and I don't have a special project planned for anything, and I already have a bunch of hand-dyed yarn, so the experience was very fun, but I didn't need to buy anything. And even if I wanted to, €25 for one skein is a lot of money. I know that it's worth it if you think about how much time goes into like dyeing yarn. I have dyed yarn myself and I know it takes a lot of water, a lot of time, a lot of electricity, and the dye itself and your labour to do the whole thing. So I understand the price, I just personally can't afford it. And at the other yarn festival that was on the Sunday, that one had different yarns. So they had hand dyed, they had different price, there was different price range. So I bought one for €14, which is very cool. Let me find that for you. I bought this one, which was €14.50 from Lizzie's Handmade, which is a German company, because, wow. It is so fun. I just bit my tongue when I was so excited. This brought me so much joy and happiness when I saw it, and I thought, I'm going to buy this, and if I want to give it to my mother, I will do that. If I want to knit socks with it, I will do that. And so it came home with me, and I didn't feel guilty because it wasn't hugely expensive and I don't have anything like this. And they had a bunch of other things. There were different types of yarns, so they had superwash, they had non-superwash, hand-dyed, non-hand-dyed, commercial, they had felt stuff, they had actual fibres for spinning, they had fabrics, they had like soap, handmade soap and hand lotions and bags, and there was a lot more, and the prices varied. So I had great fun on Sunday, and I also purchased this. It's for needle felting, and I have singular needle felting needles which I used when I was needle felting small little toys, but a lot of people were mentioning that you could felt your steeks before you cut them, and this intrigued me. But the idea of using my singular little one to do this down the entire jumper, I thought, no thank you. But I looked online and I couldn't find this wooden holder, and when I was finding anything, it all came from China and the reviews were all terrible. So I found this at a German store, a German market. I found this at the market on a German stall, and it looks decent enough, so hopefully this will work. Petra, who I will link below because she also has a vintage knitting YouTube channel, she has done this on her steeks and said she felt much more comfortable cutting up her cardigans after steeking. So hopefully I will also feel the sense of security when I use this. I have such a lovely pile of loveliness on the floor surrounding me. Oh. Okay, now I think I have covered the majority of what I want to talk about and show you. I could honestly just sit here and show you so many things, but I don't think anyone would care as much as I feel the enthusiasm to share it. But I have one more thing I need to remember, because every time I record I think I would do this at the beginning so I do not forget, and then I forget. So, number one, you can find me on Instagram, Ravelry and Coffee as emilykatemadethis, and I'm also running a make-along on Instagram called Vintage Make-Along 2024. It's Vintage MAL 2024 to be precise. So it's basically knitting, sewing, crafting, any kind of craft you want of something between the 1920s and 1960s. It can be from a book, vintage pattern. It can be vintage inspired. It can be like Squidney's Vintage School of Knitting. It could be modern vintage like Fable Knitwear. It's just a nice place to share vintage fashion, vintage loveliness, and yeah, meet new people, see other people that you might not necessarily come across if Instagram algorithm doesn't show them to you. I found lots of lovely people on the feed after people have added their projects, and then I've clicked in and seen what else they've made, and they've made amazing things. So follow them, and it's just so nice. I'm so happy I made this random decision to do a Instagram hashtag thing. Running out of ability to speak as usual. So anyone that wants to join, please add the hashtag and put the little @emilykatemadethis on Instagram, and then I can see it and I will add it to my highlights and show the world. And I really look forward to seeing what you're making. Anything else? I think that's it. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you stick around, because I have some very fun things in the future that hopefully will be the very near future that I can show you, that has been taking up all of my time. Okay, on that annoying cliffhanger, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.